Hi guys, it's Harry Wilson Darts here. Today in this video I'm going to be giving my top tips to the beginner darts players who want to turn their 26s into 180s. So tip number one, I've got something in my hand here which is relevant to this. So it is about the setup of your board. So if you're getting a board set up at home, you need to make sure it's at the correct height, correct distance to the hockey, and making sure that you are setting it up properly. This thing in my hand here is a Winmau Setup Pro. So I've actually used these for every time I put a new board up. Obviously, when I don't have the bracket on the wall, so obviously once the bracket's in the wall, you're absolutely fine. But this is if you're setting it up absolutely brand new. You don't necessarily have to have a space on a wall. You can get a stand, which I've used in the past. But obviously, I've now got space on a wall to be able to put the board, and I've got the room for the hockey. You've got to make sure that you've got space as well to have your hockey. There's no point having a board if you've got nowhere to stand. If you've not got the room to stand, it's absolutely pointless. Like you say, obviously, not everyone stands right in the middle of the hockey. Some people stand far to the right, some people stand far to the left. So just make sure that you have got enough space as well. That's part of this tip. Just make sure you've got enough space to be able to actually have a board set up. Tip number two, finding the dart that suits you. Now the darts I actually use are the 24 grams Harrows Pulse, and I've used these for about 8 years. A setup of a standard flight, obviously I've just recently switched to the integrated system, used them for the past couple of months, but I've always had a standard flight, and that always has worked for me. So it's something that I've found that I've never needed to change. Obviously, like I say, I thought I'd give the integrated systems a try, which I do find a lot better and a lot easier. Don't have as many, obviously you don't have to deal with flights coming out, Robin Hoods, anything like that. It's just all in one. But as I say, it's finding something that is comfortable for you. If you're lucky enough to have a dart shop where you live, go in and try some darts. That's what I'd recommend. It's a lot easier to be able to get a feel for a dart, how you're going to hold it, when you can actually try it. There's no, because you might see a dart online and say, oh, that looks nice, and then use it, and after a month you don't get on with it and you've wasted a bit of money. Don't go into a dart shop as a complete amateur and say, I want to set a Luke Littler darts, because unfortunately you're not going to play like Luke Littler. A lot of people do like the Luke Littler dart, and which is understandable. It is a nice dart, but it is not going to make you through 100 plus averages. Sorry. But what I would recommend is finding a dart that suits you, suits your hold, suits your grip, suits how you're going to be throwing, suits where you're going to be standing on the board. But yeah, as I say, a lot of people, they'll use individual darts, they'll use the separate darts that suit them, not because they've seen them on TV or because a certain player uses them. That is my big bit of advice. Find a dart for you and stick with it. I mean, obviously, I know Peter Wright's the exception because he does change his darts every tournament, pretty much every round in a tournament. But find a dart, what suits you, and stick with it. Like I say, I've stuck with these for 8 years and I wouldn't think of changing. So, tip number 3, grip. Make sure you find a grip that's comfortable for you. What I mean by that is obviously not a grip of the dart. That is something. Tip number 2 covers finding a dart that's comfortable for you and a sort of grip on the dart. But what I mean is how you hold the dart, how you grip the dart. So you don't want to be squeezing it and squeezing the life out of it and things like that. But it's how you feel comfortable holding the dart. So for me, it's like that. Just bring it close to the camera, so you can see there. Look, it's a nice grip. It's sort of spread evenly along the dart, and I found that comfortable just to be able to spin it in my hand and then release the dart, as you've seen in my previous video how I actually throw. So again, not all darts players throw the same. I mean, I beg anyone to try and find a player that throws exactly like another player. You'll always find that, especially in the PDC even, all the players have different types of throws. It's because what's comfortable for them. They don't necessarily. It's not like football where you're going to copy how someone passes a ball or something like that. You hold the dart, you throw the dart how you feel comfortable, making sure that you get yourself set, making sure that you get yourself, prepared in the right way, and just finding something that suits you, not what your mate does or what you've seen Luke Littler do or how we've seen Luke Humphries, grip his dart and things like that. It's all about how you feel comfortable. When you hold the dart, your fingers will instantly position themselves to how it feels comfortable in your hand. So tip number 4 is stance. All players are different. For example, if you watch the dart, Stephen Bunting stands to the far right. Andrew Gilding has his little dance what he does, where he sort of, goes steps forward, then steps to the left, then steps forward. It all depends on where the players feel comfortable throwing. So, and also how you position your foot. Some players have the foot straight like that. Some people have it slightly angled, which is what I do. And then some have that part of their foot right up against the hockey. Obviously, not all places are lucky enough to have raised hockeys. Most places now that you go to will have a raised hockey for league nights or, your ADC vaults. But you need to find a stance what's comfortable for you. You don't want to put too much pressure on your leg, because if you're leaning over and you can feel a strain in your leg, that means it's not a comfortable stance. If you put your foot on an hockey and you lean over to start throwing your darts and it feels comfortable, then you're fine. But making sure you find a stance that is comfortable for you. So tip number 5 is your throw. You need to find a throw that's comfortable for you. Making sure that not necessarily copying the style of, Ricky Evans or Luke Humphries or James Wade or Raymond van Barneveld. It's finding something that suits you. But the one tip I will give you as a beginner player is follow through with your throw. Because if you start snatching darts, it's not as controlled. You're not going to get as many in the intended target. If you snatch darts, and again, darts fans will know this from looking at Dave Chisnell, or if you're a little bit older, Jockey Wilson, they used to snatch the darts and it wasn't as controlled. But yeah, as I say, having a nice, smooth, flowy action is always key. Doesn't matter if it takes you 2 seconds to throw the darts, doesn't matter if it takes you 9 seconds to throw the darts. If you get your rhythm right and you get a nice, smooth, flowy rhythm for your game, not anyone else's, then that's the key thing. You've got to play at your pace, how you feel comfortable. And finally, one last bonus tip is practice with purpose. That is a phrase that I say a lot to people. It's a phrase I've heard in a few other videos. Practice with purpose. So don't just be going up and throwing for the sake of it. If you're practicing at home, especially, you need to do different things, so different practice routines. Download apps that have practice games on. Play practice legs. If you've not got anyone to play with, use a dartboard or the AI. But you need to practice with a purpose. You need to be looking for that sign of improvement. You need to be finding, say for example, you play one game against the dartboard and you hit a 52 average. You need to then look at improving your average. For the next game, you need to be looking back at what scores you hit, what went wrong. If you feel comfortable doing it, film yourself and then look back at it. See if there's anything you can do to improve your throw. See if there's anything you can do to change your rhythm maybe. If it's not quite right, obviously, some players, they start with an action, they start with how they throw, and they stick with it. Some players can mix it up. Some people find changing the style of play works. But what I will recommend is just practice with purpose, because you need to make sure that you're doing everything you can to improve as a player. If you want to get better, you might want to just start out practicing at home, but then you might want to go and join a pub team. You might want to go then play some ADC vaults. You then might want to take it maybe a little bit further and play Super League and play County, and then maybe the next steps, which, Q School, etc. So as I say, just to round it off, all I'll say is practice with purpose. Practice games, even practicing your doubles, leg play, set play, game play, whatever type of play you want to do, but make sure you're practicing with a purpose when you are actually doing it. And that wraps up today's video, guys. What I will say is I have actually noticed 94% of my watchers are non-subscribers. So what I want you to do now is just scroll down and click on that subscribe button, and then you can follow all my content, follow whenever I've uploaded a video, when I've uploaded my shorts. But make sure you are hitting that subscribe button. I want to see that number of non-subscribers go down and that percentage of subscribers go up. Thank you again to the Hockey Outlet for sponsoring this video. As usual, I'll leave all the links in the description, and as usual, I will leave the affiliate link and the discount code HWDarts10. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you at the next one, which will be a 99 dart challenge with my setup after this video. So I've done all this talking and now I've got to back myself.